Raph,
Yeah.
why do we look at it as being a problem?
Yeah, this is really such a great question.
I listened to your chat with Anthony Lowe.
Yeah.
And I love the way he surmised about the intra-abdominal pressure.
That was a brain explosion moment for me as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that we kind of the underlying assumption behind all of his interest, I think, in diastasis is that it's a problem, right? And there's a fair bit of research on, that has found minimal or no correlation between diastasis and low back pain or, excuse me, like pelvic organ prolapse or urinary incontinence or pelvic floor muscle function. People with diastasis tend to have weaker abdominals. But that's a correlation. It doesn't say diastasis causes weak abdominals. It could just be like people with weaker abdominals are more prone to diastasis, right? Like per Tina's point before. So the thing that most women seem to be most concerned about, and it's a totally valid concern, is it kind of looks funny, right? They feel self-conscious about the appearance, in other words. And when I say it looks funny, I'm not casting a judgment there. It's like that's what women say, right? And that's a valid concern. And really, exercise can't do much for that. Like I said before, we see that abdominal strengthening during and after pregnancy does, on a population level, like statistically, reduce the size and also the time for separation to go away. But there's not a single case recorded in a high-quality study of exercise eliminating diastasis, right? So pretty much the only option, if you really, really want to get rid of it, if you're less than a year postpartum, just wait, because it'll probably go away, right? But if you're more than a year postpartum and you still got it, well, probably it's like surgery or put up with it. Those are your options, sort of thing. So, why do we frown on it? Well, I think there's a lot of fear around it. It's very interesting what Anthony said. Has anyone else listened to that podcast with Anthony Lowe? Right, I'll just quickly go through his point that basically, during pregnancy, the pressure inside your abdomen increases dramatically, right? You've got this massive uterus with a fetus inside, pushing out, right? So there's pressure pushing into your abdominal wall, okay? There's also pressure pushing down. There's pressure pushing out in all directions. It's like a balloon expanding in all directions, okay? And there's pressure pushing your uterus down into the vagina, okay? Pushing your bladder down into the vagina, pushing your pelvic floor, okay? And so Anthony's, and it's just speculation, okay? His idea is that, and I think it's a brilliant one, is that, well, a diastasis could be like a pressure valve that lets off pressure from within the abdominal cavity and alleviates the downward pressure on of the uterus into the vagina, right, onto the cervix. So it might actually be a functional adaptation that reduces the incidence of pelvic organ prolapse, for example, or urinary incontinence. So it might be a good thing, right? It might be like, thank heaven I got a diastasis, not a uterine prolapse. Again, like I said, just speculation. Don't have any research on that. But just thinking about the anatomy and the physiology of it, it kind of makes sense to me that, and also the fact that at 36 weeks gestation, basically full term, basically 100% of women have an abdominal separation, right? It seems to be basically a universal thing. So, yeah, maybe it is just a healthy, functional, adaptive kind of, situation.